Hi, I'm Rich Wyatt. Welcome to GunsmokeGunsTV.com. Welcome, guys. Today we're going to talk about what to do when you get stopped by the police and you're carrying a gun. Now, I don't know why you get stopped without a gun, because you certainly need one. And you need it with you 100% of the time. You cannot carry a gun part-time, folks. You can have a part-time job, but you cannot carry part-time. You need to have the gun with you all the time, because the second you don't have it is when you'll need it. Now, when you get stopped by the police for whatever the violation may be, a moving violation like speeding or, whatever they pull, taillights out, whatever they may be pulling you over for, how do you handle that? When you're carrying a gun, you've got it on concealed, as you should have it. Don't carry in plain view. Carry the gun concealed. How do you handle the police when you get pulled over? It's going to vary from state to state. Some states, like Texas, require that you inform the officer you're carrying a concealed weapon or not carrying a concealed weapon if you have a permit. Here in Colorado, you're under no obligation to tell the police whether you have a gun or not. All right? So, let's say you're driving across country and you're in a state and you're not really sure what the law is, whether you got to tell them or you don't tell them, and you're not sure if your permit's good there. Should you tell the police you have the gun or not? What do you think? Well, guys, what do you think? This is serious. What are you going to do? If you don't have a plan for what you're going to do in these situations, when the time comes that you actually are in it, you're going to mess it up. Now, my personal opinion is don't tell the cops you have a gun. There's nothing good can come from it. If you tell the cops, they don't go, oh, that's great, and hand you a gold star, you may end up in trouble. Why wouldn't I want you to tell the cops? You see, the bottom line is it sounds like the right thing to do. It sounds like a good thing to do for officers. It sounds like it's the nice thing. If you tell the officer you're being respectful, you're doing everything that's great. But folks, how many of you out there are prejudiced? Please raise your hand if you're prejudiced. If you don't have your hand up right now, you're prejudiced and a liar. I'm not saying you're prejudiced against people for their race, color, religion, ethnicity, any of those things, but you have personal prejudices. I'm going to give you an example of one right now. Some of you are going to be really happy. Some of you are going to be really mad. Some of you drive Ford trucks. And I have to assume it's because you can't afford the Chevy. Right? Now, some of you are pissed because you're Ford truck drivers. Now, don't be that mad at me just because you're Ford truck drivers. If you really want to be mad at me, drive a Dodge. There's something that should come with a AAA card. Now, listen. That's a prejudice. Some of you like these guns. Some of you don't like these guns. Some of you like this truck. You don't like that truck. And by the way, back to you Ford guys for a second. When you buy these Ford trucks, who gives you the right to come around and buy our Chevy Corvettes afterwards? If you're going to buy a Ford truck, why don't you sit your butt in a Mustang and drive that thing around? All right? Now, we all have those personal prejudices. Do you think that cops, when they're in uniform, have personal prejudices? Of course they do. And if you get pulled over by an anti-gun cop and you offer up the fact that you have a gun with you, even though it's completely legal, you're all justified, you've got the right permit, everything's in order, you've just opened Pandora's box. And I don't recommend you open that box on a traffic stop. It just doesn't pay. Now, here in my state in Colorado, I don't recommend that you tell the police at all that you have a gun. There is no need to. There are a couple times, and we'll talk about that later, of when you must inform the officer that you have a gun. But just on the original routine traffic stop, don't let it happen. Now, folks, I don't want you to get all mad at the cops. The cops are not against you. The truth of the matter is, most cops support concealed carry of private citizens. They're happy that you're carrying a gun. They want you to do it safely, and they want you to do it in a positive and professional manner. And if you're properly trained, they appreciate the fact that you're carrying a gun. If you're not properly trained, like if you say to yourself, I've been shooting all my life, I know how to shoot, that automatically proves that you don't know how to shoot and that you really ought to go get some proper training before you carry a gun. That may hurt some of you, but I think once you go get some proper training, you'll admit that I was right. Now, back to why we don't tell the officer you have the gun. If you open that Pandora's box, he maybe wasn't going to give you a ticket. He was just going to give you a warning, and then all of a sudden you tell him you had a gun. He doesn't like guns, and he writes you the ticket. Now, what if you got pulled over by me? When I was working patrol, if you got pulled over by me and you told me you had a gun, I'd be like, hey, great job. Nice. You need any extra ammo? Is everything okay? I'm glad you're a true American. And I would have let you go for whatever violation you had as long as there wasn't a victim, just because you're carrying a gun. Is that right of me to do that? Yes, it is. I have what's called discretion in this state to either write the ticket or not write the ticket. It's my choice, nobody else's. And so I could let you go on that stuff. And I think that that's important. Now, there were some people that made me really mad when I was on patrol, and they had these bumper stickers that frustrated me. What do you think those bumper stickers said that agitated me when I was on patrol? That's right. They were stickers that said things like Clinton Gore, Kerry Edwards, Dukakis, running for public office. And so when I would see one of those stickers on the car, I'd follow that car around until they broke the law. And then when they broke the law, I'd pull them over and write them a ticket for it. But if I saw somebody with a sticker that said NRA, George Bush, something that I liked, I wouldn't write them a ticket. Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, one of my personal favorite organizations in Colorado. If you're not a member of Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, I suggest you join up, even if you don't live in Colorado. It's one of the best pro-gun organizations in the world. And so I wouldn't write those people a ticket. Well, that's the discretion of an officer. They have the right to do that. And you might say that's wrong, but you're mistaken, and I'll tell you why. When I pulled those people over that had that Clinton Gore sticker on their car, I knew that by putting that on there, they told me that they wanted more government in their life. So technically, I was doing what they wanted. I was putting more here you go. Check out the courthouse, check out the county courthouse, check out the municipal courthouse. Giving them the tickets so they could donate more tax dollars to the government. And so I was doing them a service. I think you all agree with me on that. Now, here's the thing. If the gun's properly concealed and you're professionally carrying a gun, there's no reason for it to even come up that you have a gun. It doesn't matter. The officer shouldn't be afraid. You're a good human being. You're a good citizen. You're a good American. They're not concerned about that. They're concerned about people that are not handling their gun properly. The worst thing that could happen is to get that gun out. So you just leave it where it is, keep it concealed. When I get pulled over, I put my hands up, I shut off the vehicle, put my hands up, put my windows down. I've got tinted windows in the back of my truck. So I put it down, turn on the interior lights if it's nighttime out. So when the officer comes up, he's relieved. He sees that I'm totally compliant and that I'm not trying to cause him any difficulty. I don't have anybody in the back seat that wants to hurt him and that's going to jump out of the car, so he's safe. You see, a traffic stop for police officers is a very dangerous situation. I know when you get pulled over, you're scared because the cop's pulling you over. I feel the same way. My heartbeat goes up. I wish it hadn't happened, but it's too late. Here I am. The officer's scared too, because they're coming up to a car and they don't know what's going to happen in their lives. This could be who knows who. And so it's important that you understand that about police officers. And police officers are good and bad, folks. I know some of you have got some stories about a bad thing that happened with a police officer. Well, where did you ever work that everybody was great? It doesn't happen. Most police officers are the greatest people on the planet. But there are some bad apples. There's no doubt about that. Any department you go to, anywhere in the world, that's just the way it is. And you can usually tell the bad ones because they got bars and stars on their collars. Just kidding to all you chiefs and captains and lieutenants out there. Actually, I'm not. So, folks, when you're pulled over, remember, the police are human beings just like you, having good days and bad days. You treat the officer with respect. You let him know that you're not trying to do anything wrong. If the officer asks you, do you have any guns, weapons, or anything in the car that can hurt me? I would recommend you say this. Officer, I don't really think it's the best idea to go through the complete inventory of my vehicle right now. I heard this from one of your compatriots, a fellow cop. So I'm asking you, what do you think of that? And number two, could you tell me why you stopped me? And what you've done there is respectfully and professionally told them, I'm not going to go through this stuff. And you put them back on track to why I was pulled over in the first place. And once you get to that and they give you their ticket or they don't give you a ticket, you say thank you and you go on your way. Remember this, if you're speeding and a police officer pulls you over and gives you a ticket, hey, you both made choices. He made a choice to pull you over, but you made the choice to get pulled over. He's just, or she, are just doing their job. And try to remember that. I know it's frustrating because you got to pay the bill. And it goes points on your license, and that's a problem. Now, I earlier said there is one time, or multiple times, that you may want to inform the police officer. At any time, if a police officer asks you to get out of the vehicle, specifically in Colorado, that means there's a problem. They're either going to do a roadside sobriety test, and if you've been drinking, you should not have your gun on you, or there's some reason they're going to arrest you. There's a warrant for your arrest, or you're similar looking to a person that they're looking for a suspect for. Once they ask you to step out of the vehicle, before you get out of the vehicle, this is the time to inform the officer of what's going on here. Keep your hands up where you can see them. Keep your hands right up there. And now I don't want you to scream out, I got a gun! That would be the dumbest thing on the planet, because then you're going to get to see his gun, and you don't want that. Slowly walk them into it. Officer, I just want to let you know I've got a concealed weapons permit. Oh, you do? Yes. Are you armed right now? Yes, I am, officer. I wanted to let you know I've got a gun on my right hip and on my left ankle before I get out of the car. Do not get out of the car with a gun on just because you have the right to. Why? The police officer has the right to protect himself. If you haven't told him you got a gun on and you step out of the car and your jacket should open up or he should happen to see the gun, his job is to protect himself first. He's going to dump you to the ground most likely and take control of the situation. And folks, he's not wrong for that. So give him the heads up before you get out of the vehicle and then ask him, how would you like to handle that? Don't reach for the gun. Don't move for the gun. Wait till he tells you what to do and how they want it handled. Here in Colorado, we have a law that I don't think is the greatest. If a police officer finds out that you're carrying a concealed weapon on your person, say in your vehicle, which in Colorado, you don't even need a permit to carry a concealed weapon in your vehicle. He finds out you have the gun. He has the right to take that gun into his custody until it stops over. Now, for most reasonable police officers that I know, as long as you're being reasonable, the gun's in a safe place, they'll tell you to just leave it right there. An officer that wants to take the gun from you, I got to question his brain power. Because he's saying to you, give me the gun. Okay, here it is right here. That's probably a pretty big mistake, isn't it? I think it's actually stupid to take the gun, unless you're acting irrationally. And then at that point, of course he wants to take the gun to secure the situation. But if you're a reasonable person, there's no reason to get the gun out of a holster. A holster is a safety device designed to carry a gun, and it should be kept in there unless you're getting ready to use it. So folks, I don't care if you're carrying a big 1911 like this, which is more difficult to conceal, or one of the most concealable, greatest guns on the planet, the Smith & Wesson 637 Wyatt Deep Cover, one of my favorite little carry guns. Matter of fact, I have both these on right now. I carry the little 38 and I carry this on my right hip. Left ankle, right hip. If a police officer asks me to disarm, I would be very unhappy because now the gun's got to come out, it's got to get into the play, it's in the middle of the thing, and it creates more of a problem than it's worth. If I was the officer stopping you and you were reasonable, I'd just tell you to leave it right where it is. Now, guys, some of you are saying, I want to let the police officer know right away. And if you want to do that, do it. If you think by not telling the officer that you have a gun, you're going to start breaking out in a sweat and freaking out, then tell him, for God's sakes, because he's going to get so nervous about what you might have done with, this stop. Maybe he thinks you got a dead body in the trunk because you're getting so nervous about having the gun on. The more you carry a gun, the more comfortable you are with it, the less of a problem it is. For you guys that are brand new at carrying guns, I know you're nervous. You're looking around, you're reaching over, touching it all the time, and it doesn't make any sense. You have to get accustomed to having the gun. I remember the first time I met President George Bush, the dad. I went up, I introduced myself to him. I got a friend of mine to take a picture with me with him. And we got done, and he walked over to me, and he said, man, were you nervous about that? I go, meeting the president, wasn't that cool? And he goes, no, you got your gun on when you took that picture with the president. And I said, you know what? I never even thought about it. There was Secret Service all around me. The president was right there. Bottom line, could I have shot the president? Yes. Could I have left? No, the Secret Service would have filled me up with bullets. I would have been riddled with bullets. The bottom line is they weren't uncomfortable because nobody knew. And that's what a concealed weapon is. A gun that you have on that nobody knows. They don't know because they can't see it. They don't know because you don't telegraph the fact that you have it. That's the key to concealment. Nobody can tell that you have the gun on. When you get stopped by the police, remember, they're human beings just like you. And it's the same on the street, walking down the street when you get contacted by the police. Keep your hands out where they can see them. Don't be disrespectful. I've watched a lot of these videotapes online of people who are standing there with an AR-15 and they're exercising their constitutional right, which I agree with, to carry a gun in plain view. But you're creating havoc. And some of you are making the police officers embarrassed and offended. And there's just not real good reasons to do that. And I know that's going to hurt some of you that love to watch the cops squirm when they're getting questioned by these people that know their rights. And I do agree. You should know the law. You should know the rights that you have in any state that you're in. But folks, all this stuff that we're doing with these cops, look, I get that there's some bad cops out there that are causing trouble for you. But they're not that many in the grand scheme of things. And remember, there's no difference between you and the cops. We're all Americans. Let's not build a wall between us. Let's be united together and supporting and respecting what each of us has to do in our day. I think to offend people and carry a gun in plain view is probably a big mistake. Carry the gun concealed. If you're stopped by the police, be respectful. Don't cause any trouble. You also need to have your stuff together. You need to have your driver's license, your insurance, your registration. Now, I don't recommend you leave your registration card in your car because it has your information on it. It has your address on it. People can then use that to get to your house if they've broken in and stolen your car, to go to your house and rip that off too, especially if they stole your car, say, from an airport or something where they might know that you're out of town. The other thing is, let's say your vehicle gets stolen in the middle of the night. You don't even know it's gone yet. The people are driving away in your stolen car. The police pull them over for speeding or some other violation. They fail to signal. They pull them over. They walk up to the car. They say license, registration, proof of insurance. And the driver says, well, here's my license, but I don't know whose car this is. You know what? In police work, we call that a clue. They're going to get the guy out of the car. They're going to figure out what's going on here, and they're going to take care of it. But if you've left your registration in the glove box, and that bad guy is able to reach over in the glove box and go, here's my registration, my insurance, it's your registration and your insurance, and here's my driver's license, and he hands it to him, and the cop writes him no ticket, that's it, it's gone. There's no record because you hadn't even reported the car stolen yet. You see how important it is to keep. Now, if you haven't reported the car stolen, there's no reason for the cop to keep this guy if he doesn't want to write him a ticket. But if he doesn't know who owns the vehicle, nobody lets you borrow a car when you don't even know their name. So the police officer is going to be able to detain him and figure out what's going on here and be able to get your car back, possibly before you ever even reported it stolen. Wouldn't you be so excited if in the middle of the night you got a call from the police and they said, hi, we think your car's been stolen and we got it. And you walk out in the garage and go, holy crap, thank you for getting my car before I ever even reported it. What a great police department I have in my city. So folks, remember the cops, they're technically on your side. I know there's some you feel like aren't, but most cops are. Even when you go to these cities like New York, Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, where you're not allowed to carry a gun. In New York, if you get caught carrying a gun, it's a 1-year mandatory jail sentence. But you know what? Even there are good cops that understand it and get it. I've met them. I've talked to them. I've actually had them tell me, please let people know that there are good Americans on these police departments and that they would never arrest you for carrying a gun. Now, I'm not telling you to carry a gun in those places because you could get arrested for it. But there are cops out there that would want to look the other way. Some of you may say, I got pulled over by this cop. What an idiot he was. I had a gun on and he didn't even notice. You know what? I bet he noticed, but he realized you were a decent person and he didn't want to give you any trouble. So he just let it go. That's how real good cops handle it. They identify the problem, realize if it's a threat to them or not, and move on. Now, guys, there's a lot of other questions about carrying concealed weapons. This is what you should do when you're contacted by the police. I hope that everybody finds this beneficial. If you have questions about it, please shoot them to us. We'll try to get back to as many of them as we can. We really appreciate you watching GunsmokeGunsTV.com. If you feel this information would be useful to a friend, please forward it on to them. We want to get the viewership up. And remember, we're coming up on the time where we're going to get ready to go to the SHOT Show. We're going to bring you some great episodes from behind the scenes at the SHOT Show. I appreciate you watching GunsmokeGunsTV.com. Thank you so much. Any questions you have, let us know. Make sure you're carrying your pistol and make sure you're doing it right. Have a great day.